With the international break coming to a close, it's time for us to predict our scores for week 39 of this 2022-2023 championship season. Way back, if we can all remember, in game week 38, Rvrs 77 and Millwall both shared the spoils with 9.5 points each, and in third position was 10step_YT. How that affects the overall leaderboard now? Well, GKK 474 still at the top of the table on 367 points, followed by Rhino on 352 points. Rvrs 77 moving up a couple of spots up to fourth position with 340 points overall, but that's enough of game week 38. Let's crack on, get straight into it. Game week 38, where on Friday evening at 8 o'clock, Burnley take on Sunderland at Turf Moor. Burnley, of course, top of the table, running away with things. Sunderland, 4 defeats now in their last 7 matches. A decent draw with Luton in that last game. So the Black Cats consolidate their position really in 11th position in the table. But in this match, I think Burnley are going to have too much for Sunderland. I'm going to go for a 2-0 home victory. We then move on to Saturday 1st of April. At 12:30, you've got Luton Town, the Hatters, coming up against Watford. Luton now currently in 4th position in the table, do ever so well this season. Really have had a fine season. Whereas Watford, stuttering, currently in 10th position. Start of the season, they thought they'd make at least the playoffs. Maybe they still will, but 2 wins in the last 7 matches doesn't bode well. But Luton in very, very good form. Okay, they did draw last time out against Sunderland 1-1, but I fully expect them to take all 3 points in this one. But I think it will be narrow, but I think they'll come away with a 2-1 win. Then we move on to Deepdale. Preston taking on Blackpool. Blackpool now second from bottom. A heavy defeat against Coventry 4-1. But prior to that, they defeated QPR 6-1. Preston North End, always a very tough nut to crack at Deepdale, and I am going to go for a home win where it'll end up 1-0. Of course, that's a very famous fixture, Preston versus Blackpool up there in the north west. We then move on to St Andrews with Birmingham City, 2 wins now in the last 3 matches, although it was a win against QPR, who are tumbling down the league. Blackburn Rovers, a good win in their last fixture against Reading, 2-1. A tight one, this one. Could end up in a draw, but I am going to favour Blackburn Rovers just to nick this one 2-1. We then move on to Ashton Gate, bit of an M4 derby, you could say, in some cases. Bristol City losing that 7-side derby last time out against the Jacks 2-0, and Reading managed to get a draw after 4 straight defeats against Hull City. But in this one, I am going to edge it to Bristol City. They do seem to have a little bit of a fortress there at Ashton Gate, and they should have enough to beat Reading 1-0. Then we move on to the Cardiff City Stadium in the South Wales derby between Cardiff City and Swansea City. Swansea, after a terrible run of 5 defeats in the last 6 matches, they actually won their last match against the Robins of Bristol City 2-0. Cardiff City, in that last fixture, they were 1-0 ahead against Rotherham, but it was controversially called off with that downpour at half time. Prior to that, they had a decent draw at home against West Brom 1-1. I think this one is going to be a very, very tight match. Swansea always seem to turn up in these South Wales derbies, winning the last few to 0 as well, so it would be good for Cardiff to score in this one, but I don't think they will. But I don't think Swansea will either. Very, very tight match, and I can see this one ending up in a 0-0 scoreline, which will probably please both sets of supporters. Next up, we got Rico at the Rico Arena. We got Coventry City themselves in very good form, coming up against Stoke City side, who've managed to turn their season around, currently in 13th position in the table, back-to-back draws, and I think this one will end up in a draw as well, even though Coventry, the Sky Blues, came away with a very good 4-1 victory against Blackpool last time out, and I can see this one ending up 1-1. We then moved over to Huddersfield, who are trying to claw their way out of the relegation zone under new owners now. A good win in the last fixture against Millwall 1-0, but Middlesbrough are doing ever so well. hunting down second position, which is currently occupied by Sheffield United. A very good, actually, you got to say that was a magnificent 4-0 win against Preston in their last fixture, and I think they will go away to the John Smith Stadium and return with all 3 points, and I can see Middlesbrough winning 2-0. We then move on to the MKM Stadium, where Hull City take on Rotherham United. Rotherham, although they missing some players in that fixture against Cardiff City, they didn't look too good, did they? Prior to that, they had back-to-back defeats against Preston North End and Birmingham City. Hull City, only one win in their last 7 matches. Currently in 15th position, but I think they will have just enough quality to beat this Rotherham side, and I'm going to go for a 1-0 win to the Tigers. We then move on to Carrow Road, where Norwich take on Sheffield United. Norwich now 1 defeat in their last 7 matches, and Sheffield United 3 wins in the last 7, but they've lost 4 of those, so it could be an opportunity for the Canaries to take all 3 points. However, I do think this one's going to end up in a draw, which for Sheffield United will be a little bit of a rarity on their recent form, and I am going to go for a 1-1 draw. We then move on to the Hawthorns. West Brom Albion taking it on Millwall. Another tight one, this one. Millwall defeating it in their last fixture against Huddersfield, surprisingly. West Brom really need to win this match if they want to get into the playoffs now, as we do enter the last 10 fixtures of the season. And another tough one. 3 wins in their last 5 matches for West Brom, and I can see them just sneaking this one 2-1 in a very, very tight match. And the final fixture of the weekend sees Wigan Athletic taking on QPR. Wigan Athletics, their players have been on strike, no wins in their last 7 matches, but QPR, their form, absolute terrible. 1 win in their last 7, where they've lost 6 of those as well, 6 of those matches. So could this end up in another draw? Wigan Athletic, their morale is at an all-time low, but so is QPR. This could be dire. It could end up in a draw, but I am actually going to go for a win to Wigan, where I can see Wigan coming out with a 1-0 scoreline. So that concludes my predictions for week 39 of this 2022-2023 championship season. Make sure you leave your predictions over at the Super Brew website. See if you can climb up the table in these closing stages of the season. Thanks for joining me once again. Good luck with your selections, and I'll see you all in the next video.